All right. Got presentation mode? Okay. Welcome to today's session on introducing EvalYouth North America to our new audience and talking through pathways to getting connected and planning for a new year of programming. This has come out of some internal conversations trying to figure out like what the identity of the organization looks like moving forward, what the value add can be for board and broader membership, and just how to keep the culture of free evaluation PD and peer support going in the North American context. So for today, our objectives are to learn more about what EvalYouth North America is and what the global chapter of that looks like and what this spun out of, how individuals can get connected with EvalYouth North America, what the EvalYouth mission means in the North American context, and how we can apply that in our region to be contextually appropriate for our audiences, and pathways to get involved. We are currently in the middle of articulating what that programming will look like, so want to include community input as broadly as possible. So whether you're interacting with this presentation now or later in a virtual format, please feel free to reach out and share your input on what you think programming could look like. So your speakers for today are myself and my wonderful colleague, Lydia. A little bit about me: I came to evaluation on accident as a Mandarin translator several years ago on an international ed project. Really enjoyed the qualitative feedback piece of it and connecting with people and getting to hear their stories. Other than that, I've been working in the field for as long as I've been working. And yeah, this is a little snippet of what our social media highlights look like for our board members and broader young and emerging evaluators, in case you're interested in getting involved, being featured, and sharing more about what evaluation means to you and how you came to be in the field. Hi, Cher. Lydia, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia, and I've been a board member with EvalYouth North America for a little over a year now. I first learned about evaluation during my master's in public health program, where I got an opportunity to do formative evaluation for a state program. And currently, I work in public health as a program assistant. And these are our other wonderful board members. We have Cher Gibson, who's a program evaluator and freelancer. We have Malka Elkin, who's an internal program evaluator, and Dejanay Monfort, who's an evaluation consultant.
Cher, did you want to say hi since you're here? It's okay if not. All right.
So what is EvalYouth Global Network? This started back in 2015, when it was founded. A group of young and emerging evaluators came together from different regions and different countries, with the initiative to have two overarching goals. One was to promote young and emerging evaluators, including young women, to become technically sound and experienced and well-networked professionals that are going to contribute to evaluation at different levels, including at the national, regional, and international. And then a second goal is to promote the inclusion of the youth and young people in evaluations that are conducted at these different levels. And EvalYouth Global Network tries to achieve these goals through social mobilization, promotion of innovation and evaluation practice and policy, and then also trying to exchange learning and knowledge. And then we have a QR code here where you can go on the EvalYouth Global Network to learn more about them.
Thank you. Our next slide comes from the same webpage. So if you are trying to scan the QR code and get into that, feel free to do that and save it as a quick link for later. It's a lot that we're about to look at here. This is the EvalYouth global network logic model, which my fellow board members and I did not necessarily know existed until we started to articulate what our vision for the next 2 years looks like. So in some of our visioning and planning for programming, we are trying to both keep this in the back of our mind, find where our region nestles within this, not do everything at the same time, considering we're small, new, and still trying to figure out what makes the most sense for our audience. But at the highest level, this is what the global system is trying to move toward in engaging young and emerging evaluators and youth engaged in evaluation, having a presence in the innovation element of evaluation in the field as well in terms of professional development, being an exchange platform, which by nature of bringing young and emerging evaluators together seems to be working pretty well, even at the regional levels. A lot of different activities. gLOCAL is one of these activities in bringing folks together. There's a lot of presence of EvalYouth in this space. Additionally, there's Youth and Evaluation Week in July, which EvalYouth has a very strong presence in. There's mentorship opportunities. There used to be a global mentorship program that I'll speak more about in a little bit. We'd like to hear more about if that's a need that's still had across young and emerging evaluators and how we can help to fill the gap of providing mentorship where possible. Webinars and other free events. Typically, everything offered through EvalYouth is free of cost, and EvalYouth North America, everything has historically been free of cost. So that's something that we're very strongly committed to. And then for outcomes, really, Lydia touched on what the broader goals are. There are incremental steps to getting there and increasing the visibility of young and emerging evaluators, centering those voices, making sure youth have a meaningful seat at the table and are able to articulate what is important to them. These are all part of the shared visioning of what these orgs are meant to achieve. So from my perspective, EvalYouth is a place for connection and mutual support from global to regional and individual levels. It's meant to support young and emerging evaluators in finding communities of support and practice. Share, myself, and Maria Montenegro, the former chair, have all participated in the EvalYouth Global Mentorship Program, which is a free of cost global pairing with a new aspiring evaluator and a senior, like well-practiced mentor. And so it's a year-long series, not currently in existence, where you're meeting to talk about like any questions under the sun that you might have about evaluation, and you get a peer network through that process as well. This is how Cher and I came to meet one another. Cher connected me to Maria at later times. And then at one of the national conferences, I was able to engage with Cher and Maria at a photo booth to learn what EvalYouth North America was, which they had just established. Fast forward 2 years, we're here now. I'm involved at this level. It's really a way to give visibility to young and emerging evaluators and keep those communities close-knit so that you have people in similar stages of life to talk to about different issues or successes or anything in between. Any questions so far? I know we've got a lot of colleagues of mine on. Do y'all have any questions yet? Cool. Hi, Cher. I hope your audio worked out.
It did. Hi, everyone.
Did you want to introduce yourself too? We talked about who the other board members are, if you wanted to do so.
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Cher Gibson. I am in Los Angeles, but I straddle two regions, as people can hear. I'm Jamaican as well, so I'm involved with the VOPE there. But EvalYouth North America, as Olivia mentioned, was very pivotal, and that mentorship program was very pivotal in jump starting my career. And when the call for EvalYouth North America just starting, I think that was in 2020, COVID years, it all feels like 10 years, but I believe it was 2020 or 2021 when that call came out. Maria Montenegro, myself, and and a few other, 3 other individuals across North America then responded to the call and was able to achieve a few things. I'm sorry I was late, but we're able to present at conferences, develop a slide deck. We got sponsored to develop a sponsored with a slide deck that was developed by a consultant. So just wanted to word that correctly and give people their props, that we were able to then present at AEA. And I know some of our members who are on the Canadian side have been able to participate in CES. And just a mention as well, North America really includes Mexico as well, but Mexico already had established a strong EvalYouth. So for that reason too, it's North America and US and Canada. So yes, let me know if there are any questions for me, but thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Cher. All right, so at a very high level, Lydia is going to talk us through what it means to be a regional chapter, and Cher just gave a wonderful segue into broaching this topic.
Yes, thank you for that, Cher. So in simple terms, we're just here to support the global mission of EvalYouth as a whole and making sure we're putting it into the context of North America. And currently right now, like Olivia has mentioned, we're still strategizing for the next 2 years of what EvalYouth North America is going to look like, because we want to make sure it's responsive to what our audience needs and wants. So we have a question for the audience, what you all would like to see from EvalYouth North America. And it can really be anything. We do have like a logic model that we're going to show you after this. But we just wanted to ask first if anyone had any thing they wanted to share. And this won't be the only opportunity to share with us, but thought it would be great to bring it up here.
Okay, so leaning heavy on the audience of my coworkers, I would love to hear what y'all think.
So, I guess, what are you working on right now? What are you all working on right now, currently?
I don't want to tell you that yet.
Okay.
I want to hear first what kind of supports, without any priming, you think needed for young and emerging evaluators.
So I will say for young and emerging evaluators, I will say they need to know what they're getting themselves into, because I would say once you get, just from public health perspective and when you're in the classroom talking about evaluation, I always tell you, you need to work on your objectives, make sure your questions match your objectives. But as you know, that's not what you need to do. It's all about conceptualizing, as we have all learned. And so I think that's one of the things that they also should think about.
So some like conceptual and like methods, larger picture of what evaluation can and should be in terms of getting from questions to answers and data collection tools. Okay, so some of those process trainings, that's super helpful.
Yes.
This may be too broad, but I just think outreach and engagement is important. I think, Olivia, you have heard me say this before, but like most people who are evaluators, like sort of randomly fall into this path, and it's usually much further along their journey. So I think it'd be great to have opportunities for folks at any age, and particularly in their younger and early career and even before their careers, to have more of a understanding and even knowing what evaluation is and what an opportunity that can be.
One of our peers, Malka, had talked about an interest in outreach at like the higher ed level even, and we were trying to figure out, this is something that's potentially on the table. I'll give you that much so far. What would be feasible and what would make sense? Like, would it be connecting with universities that already have eval programs and trying to like harvest the skills of some of those like graduate students that are already working in those areas? Would it be forming relationships with universities that offer fields that have an evaluative mechanism very commonly exhibited, like public health, and where a lot of people come into the field through public health, or whether it be in a segment of ed or a segment of some other vein that commonly pairs with evaluation? What would y'all's thoughts be on kind of sharing and connecting and where to start and where to set some of those bounds?
Yeah, I think more of those latter ideas would be where I would go, because they're in an evaluation program, I think, they're fine. But yeah, like public health, even, math stats majors, data analytics, I think there are students who like social work, sociology, right? Like there are students who start down career paths that are very transferable into evaluation, especially at the undergrad level. And having worked in higher ed for a long time, I know that a lot of students who start down those paths figure out they don't really love that path and they're looking for something else. One access point may be centers for career development at institutions. I wonder if those could be a good outreach and engagement opportunity, and also sort of a good connector from, like them, from the student to us, for example. So a career counselor could be like, okay, you're not liking sociology. I get it. Have you ever heard about evaluation? Would you like to talk to Jessica Osborne at the Center for Research Evaluation? I think that'd be a great potential path. There's probably tons of others, but that's the first that comes to mind.
I would like to put an asterisk star next to everything Jessica just said. Like, that was perfect.
Perfect. Lydia, any follow-up questions based on what we've heard from the audience so far?
I think at the moment, no, because I feel like that is like a good segue into what Olivia will share about our logic model and the direction we're thinking of taking EvalYouth North America for the next couple of years.
Perfect. Okay. So take this with a grain of every word draft in all caps in front. Like, we are just starting to toy with the idea of a logic model for EvalYouth North America. This is very, very early stages, trying to articulate what we are putting in, what the activities are that we want to offer. We've included outputs just to have something tangible to measure that piece of it. And then what we want our short and long-term outcomes to be for the audience that we serve. So at present, some of the things that we have on here are acknowledging that the inputs are entirely volunteer efforts. The board, 5 strong at this point, commits personal time in the evenings to doing this work, coming together and planning and providing these things. So currently we're putting in time, creative energy, and goodwill. Aspirationally, we might be able to have some resources to be able to compensate volunteers, bring in some guest speakers. That's a limitation of being a volunteer org, but that's a conversation we can have further down the line once we have a clearer idea of where we're going forward. Some of the activities are rooted in wraparound supports for young and emerging evaluators. We currently are doing a bunch of professional development sessions year to year. That has been consistent over the time EvalYouth North America has existed. We're hoping to do some more networking events. This has existed. That's how I got connected with EvalYouth North America, but we want to keep that going and potentially do some virtual networking events in the next 2 years to bring folks together if people show up. Aspirationally, we'd love to see a peer-to-peer mentorship program arise. That is possible and exists in other models. It just takes volunteer effort and dedication and matching. I think some of that is why the global mentorship program has not been able to sustain over time, because it is volunteer dependent and people are committing large chunks of time to working with a peer, working with a mentor, doing all of that on top of your 9-to-5 job. So we'd want to think through very strategically what that could, should, will look like. But I think it could be an asset. We're looking at potentially doing a virtual symposium at some point. There was previously a virtual symposium for young and emerging evaluators 1 year. I want to say it was in 2023. I've not seen it again. No, it was 2022. I've not seen it since then, and I've not received any confirmation as to whether or not that will happen again. So we were considering the potential to try to facilitate and fill some of that gap if it doesn't. Outputs, just brainstorming. wanting to host at least 3 professional development sessions, 2 or so networking events. We're hoping to have target numbers of people that we're serving, potentially have the symposium as an output if that's something we think can precipitate within the current limitations. And then outcomes, aiming for knowledge acquisition and navigational capacity, people knowing what EvalYouth North America is, having active and consistent membership, and we'll talk about more about what the membership model can look like. We don't currently have that very solidly laid out yet. We want people to be building professional relationships and knowledge in the field, and ultimately we'd like to be contributing to centering young and emerging and youth voices in evaluation, which is the global mission. Long-term goals, I don't think we're there yet. The org is only 2 years young, and I've just started in my position in February. So long-term, potentially looking at community building, ecosystems of support, and shifting power dynamics, but not ready to articulate what that looks like currently. Our next phase, and I will stop talking a mile a minute, will be to move to Jamboard. And let me stop sharing my screen. I'm sure nobody scanned that QR code yet. If you did, congratulations. If not, I'll paste a link to you right now. Hold on. And we're going to move to Jamboard, but I'm not going to share screen while we're on Jamboard because I find that confusing because you can only participate on your individual screen. And I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, so when we move to Jamboard, you'll see the draft logic model here, and what we'll be doing is answering these 3 questions in the top left corner with a blue sticky. If you could share what resonates with you, what you like to see on the logic model. In orange, what you would like to see but don't currently see on the logic model, and then in yellow, what needs improvement. And that will be the wrap up of our event today, is working on this Jamboard slide. All right, so I'm pulling my screen back up. Oh, I started from the beginning. Bummer. Okay, so up next for EvalYouth North America, we have another session tomorrow. So if you are really excited about this conversation today, we have an interactive Kumu map, which is a network map of resources, professional development opportunities, and evaluation centers across the North American landscape that was developed in partnership between a consultant and the former board before I came around. We will be coming together for an open call for updates. So if there's anything that you don't see on that map that you think should be reflected as an opportunity for young and emerging evaluators, we can talk about that in that session and get those updated. For example, the center at which I am employed is not currently on there, so we will get that added to the map in the next week or so, but hoping to bring people together for that event tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central at the same Zoom link. And then in July, it's either the 1st or 2nd week. I'm confident it's one of those 2 things. July 8th and 10th, we have sessions at Youth and Evaluation Week online, also a free week of professional development. And those sessions will be about young and emerging evaluators and advocacy roles and advocating for youth involved in evaluation. And the 2nd session will be on fostering leadership skills and some of the other capacities needed for young and emerging evaluators to come into leadership roles as they move into the field and into more senior positions. Other than that, we'll be doing a call for board and general membership, still articulating what general membership might look like. So if you have thoughts and would want to be a general member without board responsibilities and what you would like to have as a benefit of that, whether that be newsletter, access to programming, connection to peer-to-peer support, whether that just be the board at present or some of the other peers that join as a result of some of these sessions, let us know. And over here on the right, there's a QR code for our LinkedIn page. Don't forget to follow for the latest updates. Any questions? All right, thanks everybody.